If you've heard me talk about the menopause spectrum and you want to know where you are on it, how do you do that? Maybe you're only 38 years old, but you're having symptoms like your periods have become a little wonky in timing, or maybe you're having some crime scene periods, you know what those are, or maybe you're having other health problems that you don't realize are related to your changing, fluctuating sex hormones coming from your ovaries that can occur as early as 35 and 40. And you're wondering, is this me? So how do you know where you are on the menopause spectrum? So first, just a review, the menopause spectrum is that downward descent that starts around the age of 35, 40, where your sex hormones are generally getting lower until menopause, and then you're postmenopausal and menopausal forever and ever. And you've got this descent into hormonal poverty. How do you know where you are? Well, that's a great question, and I'm going to answer it. You've got to test, not guess. And that's going to be tough because in mainstream medicine, there really is no standard of care for testing women's hormones, unfortunately, which is kind of crazy because we test everything in medicine. We test your potassium, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your weight. We check your sodium. We check all your liver enzymes. We check everything. We even smash and dash and squish your boobs in an x-ray machine to check them. There's no standard of care in mainstream medicine for checking a woman's hormone levels, which is kind of crazy. And that's how I was trained as a board certified OBGYN. But when my own health faltered and I found a better way, there actually is a standard of care. And there are many different ways to check a woman's sex hormones. So you want to test, not guess, and you will get a beautiful picture of where you are, what your hormone levels are. My favorite test is a dried urine metabolite test. I use the Dutch test, but there are other companies that have other dried urine metabolites. But for the three types of estrogen, estrone, estradiol, estriol, progesterone, and testosterone, those are the five main sex hormones, although sometimes we call the three estrogens just estrogen. That's really the best test. It also will let you know how you are detoxifying or breaking down your estrogen, which is super important. And we'll talk about that in another video. So you've got to find someone who can do this test for you, but you can even go on Precision Analytical's website and buy a test yourself. The problem is, once you have it, what do you do with it? You don't know how to read it or treat it and address it. And I have women reaching out to me on the internet and social media all the time saying, hey, Dr. Kieran, I got the Dutch test, now what do I do? So I recommend finding a provider who can order the test for you and help you understand and decipher it and help you know what you need to do. Are you in hormonal poverty or not? And how do you get to hormonal prosperity if you are in hormonal poverty? So you've got to test, not guess. The other thing I've talked about in many videos is you've got to do all the right tests to check your thyroid. There are 7 main metabolic hormones that you need to look at: insulin, thyroid, cortisol, DHEA, your 3 types of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. That's 7 major metabolic hormones. And they can all be affected on the menopause spectrum, believe it or not. Going through this transition can affect your insulin and make you more likely to become insulin resistant and even diabetic, which I'm sure you know how many diseases that predisposes you to. And when you've got insulin problems, then you're more at risk for cortisol stress hormone problems. And insulin problems and cortisol stress hormone problems cause thyroid problems. So you've got to check that too, but you don't just want the mainstream thyroid test, which is just a TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, or a thyroid profile. You want not only the TSH, but a free and total T4, a free and total T3, a reverse T3, thyroid peroxidase antibodies, and anti-thyroid globulin antibodies. And we can talk about what all those are in another video. But How do you know where you are on the menopause spectrum, right? Descent into hormonal poverty. You've got to test, not guess. You've got to test your sex hormones and see where they are. So a little bit more about the test. You want to do it at the right time, because if you don't do it at the right time, then you're not going to get good information, right? It's been said that the quality of your life will be determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. And if you have an hour to solve a problem, you should spend 55 minutes formulating the exact right question and 5 minutes getting the answer. And it's no different with your health. You really want to understand what you need to know to get actionable information that's going to help you move your health forward. So you can sleep all night, have great energy, lose the weight, grow your hair, feel sexy and confident, do all the things that you want to do at midlife and beyond, and that you frankly deserve to do. So you want to get that Dutch test for sure. But then when you get it, you want to read it the right way, not the wrong way. So what do I mean by that? Well, did you know that when you get any labs done, if you pull out an old lab test that you have had previously, you'll see your result on the left, and then on the right, you will see what says reference or normal range, and it gives you a range of values that are considered normal by the lab. You know what I'm talking about? Well, guess how they determine what is normal for test results? Well, you remember back to high school science when you learned about the bell curve? That's the curve that will show the distribution and values of any measurement in a population. So if you take all the people and you measure their height, everyone in the US, let's take all women in the US, it will always fall under a bell curve distribution. If you take their IQs, it falls under a bell curve. If you take their TSH or thyroid stimulating hormone, it will fall under a bell curve. Most of the people will be centered around the mean or median in the middle, and then fewer and fewer people will be present with values the farther out you go. If you look at the middle 95%, right? So you exclude the top 2.5%, bottom 2.5%, that's what the lab considers to be reference range or normal for your labs. So they actually sample the general population for TSH values in the US, and they get that bell curve, and then they go, oh, 95% of the people are normal. But you and I both know that 60% of Americans are overweight or obese. So are they optimally healthy? They're not, but they're included in those numbers. So you're being compared to a lot of people who aren't optimally healthy when you are told that your TSH level is normal. You're being told your TSH thyroid is normal for a not optimally healthy person, possibly. Does that make sense? And when I ask most women, and maybe you can answer this for yourself, do you want to be compared to potentially not optimally healthy people? No, right? You want to be compared to optimally healthy people. And it's the same not only for your thyroid, but your sex hormones. So when you are looking to see if you are in hormonal poverty, where are you on that menopause spectrum? And you get the Dutch test. You don't want to be compared to what they say is normal and be told you're normal for a menopausal woman. I have people telling me this all the time. They say, hey, Kieran, they'll message me on Facebook. I did the Dutch test and my doctor looked at it and said that I'm normal, but I'm miserable. And maybe that's you. I can't sleep. I'm having hot flashes. My hair's falling out. My memory is terrible. My mood is all over the place. I'm snapping at my kids and my partner for no reason. The list goes on. I don't feel like myself. I've lost my joy. Maybe that's you. And then they're like starting to think they're crazy. And maybe you're starting to think you're crazy too. And what I want to tell you is, if you don't feel 100% like yourself, and if you don't feel amazing at every age, there's always a reason why. And if you don't know the reason why, you haven't asked the right question yet. You haven't done the right test. You haven't turned over the right rock to look for the answers. So keep looking. That's an aside. But bottom line is, women reach out to me and they say, I had a Dutch test. I wanted to know, am I in hormonal poverty? Where am I on the menopause spectrum? And my doctor told me I'm normal for my age. Has that happened to you? So this is why you've got to read your test the right way. If you read it for what the lab says is normal, you're being told, oh, you're normal for a potentially unhealthy population. So particularly when it comes to the Dutch test, there's a postmenopausal range for estrogen, progesterone on there. And it's in the purple range. And people will tell me, my doctor said I'm fine for a menopausal woman. But the whole idea is that menopause, the menopause spectrum, lands you in hormonal poverty. So they're basically saying you are normal for a hormonally impoverished woman. Ask yourself, do you want to be normal for a hormonally impoverished woman? That's like saying, oh, you might say, I'm not earning enough money. And you look online and you see what the average salaries are, and you look at the poverty level. So you look at what the number is and you compare your salary to that, and it says you're in poverty, and you say, oh, I'm normal for an financially impoverished person. I'm okay. Does that make sense? No. You would say, oh, I'm in the normal range for a financially impoverished person. I need to do something about that to get out of poverty and get into prosperity. And it's no different with your hormones. If you're in hormonal poverty, all your tissues that depend on these hormones to be optimally healthy, all your cells and systems that depend on these vital, nourishing, communicating hormones are going into disrepair. Just like people who live in poverty don't have the funds to maintain upkeep on their car, on their homes. You might go by their home and see the paint peeling, roof shingles have fallen off, the drain gutters have fallen off, weeds are growing, right? Your body doesn't have the hormonal funds to repair things and keep everything in working order. And this starts that descent into the chaos that creates disease. It creates midlife metabolic mayhem, it creates disease, and it shortens our lifespan. So this is something super important. That's how you know where you are on the menopause spectrum. Remember, this is the term we're going to start using. Forget talking about premenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal. Talk about it like the hormonal spectrum, starting at 35. Where are you with your hormone values? So I hope this helps, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video.